Yeah.
Who's he gonna need you? I'll grab a couple extra ones. Yeah. You can think in the middle there, kind of one, and you have it confused, so you know exactly what you're gonna have to do. Yeah, that's a big question marks.
Do that.
Okay, we'll get started here. Rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll go right to this Smiles Family LLC road debate here.
Well, it might make sense. You want to pull up with me here?
Sure.
Spread this baby out. Awesome.
Paperweights on it. Oh yeah, life in the fast lane.
I got another one for you this morning. You had that at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Seriously?
Yeah, I called them.
Did they pull him over?
I think they'll catch him. I have to turn around for some reason. I think they're calling me.
We got lots going on. So I understand Commissioner Robert can't be here, is that right?
No.
Okay. All right, well, so the short version here is, I mean, there's a lot of information here, and I will say you guys have done a lot of homework on
A
this.
lot of homework, yes.
I reviewed the Mildren report and then the survey. Wonder if you could walk us through a little bit more on the survey when we get to it, because
Yes.
there's two big things I'm still trying to figure out, and I've received a big pile of stuff from the BLM. I contacted them and asked them, because you mentioned that.
Sure.
And then I also received, or I guess I went and copied the file that was in district court on the litigation on this,
With the
the conservation fund.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing I'm trying to figure out is, are these over, I guess I'll give you guys some background, Commissioner some background. So there's litigation, it was filed in 2012, or I guess it was filed before that. It was dismissed in 2012, and basically by joint agreement of the parties, as I understand it. And Mr. Schmaus had sued the Conservation Fund. So the Conservation Fund had purchased some property in Broward County from the BLM, which had purchased it from the McMaster.
Other
is
way
that
around.
correct?
Conservation Fund purchased it. They facilitated the acquisition of the property for the BLM.
Okay,
Yeah.
so BLM now owns it?
Yes.
And is that what we refer to as the McMaster Ranch or McMaster property?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
it was the McMaster's Ranch acquisition.
Okay.
Correct.
And then, so there's some litigation there that it was basically inconclusive. So then there's also been some requests for access.
Well,
From the
if I may,
BLM.
The litigation, I guess inclusive is probably the wrong word to me. Just because of the fact, what happened with the litigation was that I had the Conservation Fund at bar in district court upstairs, and before we could get a final determination or even into trial or any of discovery or any of that, the BLM, even though I'm litigating with the Conservation Fund over access to my property back there, they went ahead and closed the sale with the Conservation Fund with the cloud on the title, and that removed my standing in state court, and then we would have had to refile in federal court. Well, I thought at the time that I could work something out with the government in regards to this access to my property, and I have wasted, well, that was dismissed, I think, in 2011, so I've wasted 7 years of back and forth, let's try this, talk about this, and they just, there's no end to it. The other option, was to refile in federal court. We didn't do that. But now, because the road's a county road, the BLM doesn't, like you had said at the last meeting, they have no authority, so that's where we're at.
I didn't say it, you said that, but, so, what I'm not clear on though is, and that's what I want to get confirmed here, that So the litigation with the conservation fund, and then now you have a request for access through the BLM that's still ongoing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because I've
the only
got some
thing they
documents
provide-
here from, the last thing was something from December 29th, right? That's the BLM's notice, and they asked for a 30-day extension to respond to you?
Yeah, so, I guess a real brief history. After the litigation and the BLM purchased it, as part of, you know, agreeing to just bow out of the lawsuit, basically is what it was. It was agreement to like, okay, well, we don't have standing, we won't fight this. We were under the impression that, through BLM, we could get a right-of-way, which is a usual type of thing. I've had, 3 or 4 different right-of-ways. Well, what happened, and unpronounced to us, is that in the deed where the transfer of the ownership of the ranch from the conservation fund to the BLM, the conservation fund, the buggers, they included in their deed a deed restriction where the government couldn't give out right-of-ways. So we kind of got our shit handed to us on that one. It was in discussions with them, it was understood that, oh yeah, you could probably get a right-of-way through BLM, and that was fine. So then over the course of the last 7 years, we have been getting what they call as a travel variance, which is very restrictive. It's not one of these things where we'd say, oh, we want to go to our property and stay a week and have our friends come. Even, it's so restrictive that they told me at some point I didn't even have the right to invite people to our private property. I mean, it's ridiculous. So then I went ahead just to press the envelope. We went ahead and applied for a right-of-way anyway, knowing that it would get denied.
Do you mean with the conservation fund or with the BLM?
With the BLM. We applied for a federal right-of-way with the BLM, and knowing that it would get denied, but that would open the door to us appealing their decision and getting it into the IBLA. Well, we applied for the right-of-way, and we have been 5 years into waiting for a decision on the IBLA. So in the last year and a half, I went ahead and got another travel variance, and I came in and I drove the road and I photographed the road. There's another section, I think it's section 2900 of the CFR, states that they can give out a maintenance permit. Well, one of my biggest gripes with the BLM about the road is that, okay, well, you can give me a travel variance, but what I need to be able to fix where the road's washed out in places. I can't even get through there with the pickup. I have to take my four-wheeler at this point. And prior to BLM's ownership, and even the Conservation Fund's ownership, these roads were in very good shape, but it's just been, I think, due to years of neglect and nobody doing anything to the road, them not allowing us to do anything with the road, resulted in the fact that I had no choice but to ask again for a maintenance permit, which again, they denied, and now I'm in appeal. I appealed that decision, but that was all prior to the developments as this particular road being a county road.
Okay, so that's where you are currently with
Yes.
BLM. You're requesting either maintenance or a variance for access, and they're still resisting, but it's not resolved. Is that accurate?
Yes, they're still resisting. It's not resolved. I do want to add there's part of the transaction. There was this exclusive road easement, which should have provided them the ability to grant us a right-of-way. Because there's an existing easement that's recorded in the courthouse here that states that these roads are to be used for access to lands generally, and I believe that it's an easement in gross which would provide us access. They're saying that the easement that wasn't the purpose of the easement, and it's very clear to me. So that's one of the decisions that we're waiting for the IBLA to make. Okay. But again, that was all prior to all of this. And
okay.
And what brought us here today is I just got late last year, September, October, right, and I just got fed up with it, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take a good look at this, I'm gonna pull records, I'm gonna go here and there, and that's what brought us where we're at today, is I found those records.
Okay. So why don't you just orient us on the map here? So
Okay.
this is Broward County, obviously.
Mhm.
The county line with Lewis and Clark is at the top of the map, is
Yep,
that
that's
accurate?
Yep, that's that.
So we're at the
Yeah.
northern portion of Broward County as it's, as you can see, a portion of it is Canyon Ferry Reservoir. Anyone wants to talk about? So what is this subdivision down here, or what is all this area?
That would be,
Lazy HM.
yeah, Lazy HM, yes.
Okay,
hmm
and so this is not the highway.
This is the highway.
That is the highway.
Yep, that's the highway, and what's labeled there is the Helena Bozeman Road, and the surveyor found that that's basically on about the same course as what the old Helena Bozeman Road that's on the 1868 GLO map.
Okay, so where's the big hill with the, as you come into as you come in just down and you dip down to Lazy HM, there's a
That's
big
right,
BLM
that
hill.
dip is right in,
Okay.
before it, going north, before it spreads into the 4-lane, that's about the beginning of the
So the
4-lane.
hill is basically here?
Yeah.
Where's Spokane Beacon, right up here?
Yeah, it's got, yeah, these are the beacon towers.
Those are
and
the beacon, okay,
yeah,
so that's what I'm
right.
referring to, okay. Okay, so let's go through what A is, Danny Authy Road petition from 1887, that's now highway, so there's really no dispute on that one, right?
Yeah, well, what, we might wanna start, well, I guess we can start with it. A is what the surveyor finds is the most practical route. A represents with the continuing blue line to D, A, B, C, and D. That represents what is on the county's map from
Oh,
1966.
so A is not referring to the highway, it's referring to this blue line?
Yes.
D.
Mm-hmm.
D.
Mm-hmm. A is referring to this, well, to this segment and this segment. These two lower legs, A1 and A2, are shown on the county's road map.
That's the McMaster place,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
homestead, and then this road here's been abandoned some time ago,
No, we never found any abandonments.
Oh, okay.
No abandonments.
but it's been closed off.
Yeah, it's been, it's still a road there, and it's when the highway department put in a approach there, I don't know, but it's.
I think there's a gate, and I think McMaster.
Yeah,
put
and it's
cattle
a
in
fence,
now.
it's a fenced out lane too, so. But the reason, speaking about A point one, A and A.2, what we found is that, again, A1 and A and A2 are on the county map. A1, where it connects to the boat, that's the old Diamond, right there is where the Diamond City Road and the Helena Bozeman Road meet. Now, that lower portion of the Diamond City Road, where it connects at A1, we found no abandonments of that stretch, or of any of the Diamond City Road,
So
period.
where's the property you're trying to gain access to? That, right there, this, in section 1, you see the box in section
Yeah.
1? Okay. Do you mind if I write on this?
Yeah, it's your copy,
How many acres are in the claim?
20.66. Hey, neighbor,
All right.
how are you?
Okay. So, let's go back to A. What's, for all you guys that are more familiar with this, what's the current state of travel on this road, the blue road?
Well, I've traveled this road. There's, I believe, there's a fence. Where would Cliff would probably know better than I think that I think that it's gated here and here. I'm not for sure though at these 2 points. So on the section line between 13 and 14. I believe there's a gate there. I know there's a gate there.
Okay, so ordinary member of the
Or
public turns
here.
off here, how far can they drive before they run into something? Do you guys know? They're running into something that indicates go no farther.
It's something that indicates, well, would
Well-
either, they were gonna run into a fence line probably along
So
here somewhere
fence-
that's been,
Road doesn't exist anymore, something like that.
well, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Well, visibly, I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Well, you can, the line, the A, B, C, and D, this blue line is on the ground. That
Is-
is the road on
Are
the
those the pictures you submitted to BLM?
pictures. No, at that time, we had used, just because this route, they gave me an authorization to use this road. here at that time. That's what they would authorize at
So
that time.
Because the pictures show a pretty, I wouldn't call it a, I mean, we're looking like this is a ravine with
Yeah, that's down.
two tracks down.
That's down in here. Yeah, that's all. That's just, that's a completely
I mean, that's
different road.
really not a traveled road.
Well, it
Okay, so-
hasn't, yeah, it's since the,
Do you guys want to see these?
It's a paper road.
they've had the gate shut and have stopped the public since 2011 from
Okay.
accessing
Okay.
anything.
So basically what I'm saying is, right now, member of the public can't hop off here or here and drive, regardless of whether it's snowed in or not.
No,
I mean,
and they
in terms
can't-
of being able to do it, they
They
can't.
can't hop off on Cliff's Place and drive, and they can't drive on this road.
Oh,
and they
I got it,
can't-
but
I mean,
that's not
they're-
the issue. The issue isn't Cliff's Place. The issue is is there legal access from there to there to there? And that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Mhm.
So that, you're saying the Daniathi Road petition is A all the way to D?
Correct. Mhm.
Because I'm, Red Hill Road, where's Red Hill Road?
So from D, following the road into section 23, Dianthony Road connects with Red Hill Road in section 23 at C. From that point, the petition reads, with the connection of the Red Hill Road and out, I believe, out to the Helena Bozeman Road. So that gets us from D to C to B to A, because it does mention a connection with the Helena Bozeman Road.
Thence up the valley so as to connect in with the Red Hill Road, which leads to the Spokane House. Thence following the Red Hill Road with such
Deviation
deviations as
necessary.
I think it says as stray. I'm not sure what that says. As deemed necessary. There you go. And connecting with the Beaver Creek and Helena Road along convenient something near the Spokane House.
Okay, you're actually reading the petition, not the adoption. I think that would maybe be.
Daniathi Road be accepted and the road ordered opened as follows. Commencing at the Lewis and Clark County line at the old crossing running about 150 yards southwest of Spokane. I'm assuming that's what that is. Something Hall's house.
Isaac Hall.
Isaac
Yeah.
Hall's house.
Mm-hmm. He had
It's-
land in section 6.
Thence following its, don't know what that word is, something road over the hill about 75 yards southwest of John Daniathi's house. Thence following foothills and connect with the, I don't know what that word is. Is that a county word? What is that word?
The county road.
County road
At
at
or
or
near.
near the residence of G.W. Filson. We also, I don't know, is that located? Located the road
Running over the
running
road, yeah.
over the Red Mountain,
Yep, Red Mountain.
commencing about 1/2 mile south of Ed
Duran.
Ed Duran house, thence running west across the Red Hill and connect with the Helena and Bozeman Road near the residence of Patrick Moran or
Moran, M-O-R-A-N. Yeah.
So that's the kind of legal description we're dealing with here in the late 1880s. So,
So yeah, so we're traveling from D to an intersection with the Red Hill Road, and from that point, the Red Hill Road out to a connection with the Helena Beaver Creek.
So
Road,
was
which
there
is the highway.
was there a map recorded with that? Because I haven't found that.
There was not a map recorded with the petition, but we have the 1889 surveyor's map, which shows, it shows the river bottom, it shows Dianthony's Hall's house in section 6, and it shows section 6, 7, 8, and what would that be, 6, 5, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And it shows the ownership in section 6, and that ownership is reflected on what's the new county record book, which I provided. Yeah, that's all been provided. So as Mr. Mildren said, identifying the property ownership per the description is relatively easy because it does match on that old map what is matched with the county index books upstairs to date. So again, it states that that road takes off from Isaac Hall's house and heads westerly through the foothills. And it's not a very good description, but in 1878, none of those descriptions were very, very good. We didn't even find really a full description of the Helena Bozeman Road, which subsequently was adopted in, I think, the 1930s as a state highway, and that state highway adoption vaguely refers to the road. It's not it's not any more of a description than what the Dianthony Road petition is, and that was a description of a state highway. It doesn't reference corners or, I mean, really anything other than it's traveling southwesterly in this direction, things like that.
So one of the questions, so first of all, from Mildren's report, he's saying the precise route of the road is not well described in county records. However, the county road book shows an unnamed road running through sections 1, 11, 12, and 13, and then along the boundary of 13 and 14, and continuing south to section 25. So section 25 is going to be just,
Yeah, it would be right, where would it be told? Yeah,
it would be right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Broadwater County 1966 road map on the wall in the basement of the courthouse shows roads in sections 1, 12, 13, 14, 15, 22, 23, 24, which you could conceivably go through all those sections to get there. So it's interesting. It doesn't name that road on the maps. I think it's an unnamed road. So he says, it is possible that some portions of the roads depicted on these reference maps correspond to the roads described in the, apparently I'm saying it wrong. How do you say it? Daniathi?
Your guess is as good as
Daniathi
mine.
Road petition.
Yeah, Dianthony, I think.
So one of the issues is that after all this was done was when Canyon Ferry was established, right? And so like they're referring throughout these things, you'll see them referring to things in, in section
Section
6 or section 8 that don't exist anymore. They're underwater. I mean, they exist, but they're underwater. So what I'm not clear on is whether any subsequent things, and it looks like that's what he was looking for, is are there any subsequent things such as the Canyon Ferry Reservoir filling that would have, somehow negated that. He mentions the Bureau of Reclamation purchased all of the Broadwater County roads that would be claimed by filling the reservoir. This purchase included portions of the Daniathi Road and the Red Hill Road. This effectively cut off all access to Township 9 North, Range 1 West from the flooded roads along the Missouri River. So if you recall, Missouri River was running, right? There would have potentially been access from the Missouri River up to these sections. So in other words, anything access to the east is gone because of the reservoir. So either there's access to the west or there's no access
And that
from the west.
that reference book 6, yeah, page 201. And what that is that's commissioner's minutes where, and I actually pulled the documents from the Federal Archives. What they settled with the county was everything below the 3,300 mark at sea level. So everything below that, so that would be the static level of the lake is 3,300. So everything below that level, the county actually ended up giving, well, they were paid $25,000 by the government for those roads that were there and a couple gravel pits that were south of here. So that settled that. They left, yeah, so obviously the roads are underwater, but they still had some value to the county, so the county was paid for those.
So then, in 1919, a portion of the Upper McMaster Road was abandoned, but he really wasn't able to confirm what location was abandoned. And then, the 66 Broadwater County Road Map shows various primitive roads through this area, but they're not named. There are some deeds for properties that contain reservations for county roads. So we're talking section 22 and 23, which is down just to the west of the Lazy HM. It's basically that access off of that highway by the Spokane
Well, there's-
Beacon. And then he says some historic roads and county roads in sections 15, 22, and 23 were abandoned and or replaced over the years. It appears they were trying to eliminate unused portions of the roads where sufficient access was provided via newly developed routes. But due to incomplete descriptions and apparent gaps in the records, it's not possible to determine conclusively which portions in 22 and 23 were county roads and which portions may remain county roads post abandonment. So that's kind of where that's preliminary question one, right? Is this Danny Authy petition road? Is this the best guess as to what that route is? And the surveyor and Mr. Mildred are saying, it says right on here, it's the surveyor's opinion that this blue line represents the most practical route to the Isaac Hall house, because that was apparently the purpose of that petition, or at least from the Isaac Hall house down to the Bozeman Helena Road. And then he's also comparing that to the 1950 U.S. Geological Survey quadrennial map, and likely the most likely lot. So let's say the surveyor's correct, and he's probably as correct as anybody's going to be able to figure it out at this point. So the question is any of the subsequent abandonments or adjustments in 22 and 23, which would be the first part of that route coming off of the highway heading east and then eventually north, were those abandoned, or were those sufficiently intact?
That map out there shows them as abandoned.
No.
Yes, it does, and it also shows this Dianthony Road right here from D back to, I believe, section 12 is also showed as abandoned. It's got yellow and black checks on it.
And that's the one down the
That's
hallway
the
here?
66
I
map
would like
on
to
the
go
wall.
take a look at that with you, Mike.
Yeah. Well, before we do that, there's one more issue we gotta address.
There's two portions of that road that are abandoned.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
it's,
end and down by the.
Well,
by
I think
Phil's.
it's clear that he's saying that there were portions that were abandoned. What he's saying is he can't tell you exactly which portions were. So I think, and how old is that map? Is that the 66?
66.
Okay. So then the second question though is, even if that's correct, because this is all BLM, correct?
it is.
Except
Yes,
for-
except for what Mr.
Except for
Fox has in 12 and 13.
And what is this box right here that's in section 1
That's
south
also
of you?
BLM. Mhm.
That box is section,
Yeah.
that's not an inholding?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No.
So the second question is, how is there access from this road to Mr. Schmaus's property? And that, if you look at the map, that's a pink colored line, and the key says pink colored line is a road visible on current aerial photography. That, because it's a visible road doesn't mean it's actually, like we said, a road. So I think that's the second question and frankly, it's probably the harder question
In that,
to get to. So that's the
that's
the
where
next phase that I'm working on.
Speaking of the pink road would be the wide berth or sweeping adoption per the Leffler petition, which provided, Leffler petition provided an access road for commerce, basically, to the property owners in sections 12, 11, 1, and 2, from the half-mile marker of 13 and 14. So, I'm claiming, and I hope that you guys can agree with me, that per that petition, it basically opened that area up for roads for the people that lived back there. In section 1, Leffler's owned, homesteaded most of the ground, if not all of it, around my property. And then subsequently, that property was due to the filling of Canyon Ferry, everything, on the lake side and just to the county line side was purchased, from a subsequent fee simple owner as part of the Canyon Ferry project.
Do you have the Leffler petition in here?
Yeah, it should be.
1918 Leffler petition.
It wouldn't be on this key.
Right.
Yeah.
So Joe, who's the owner of section 6, section 7? Is that BOR, is that BLM?
6 is BOR and BLM is section 1 now.
Section 7 is BOR,
Section
7 right below 6.
Oh yeah, this is BOR.
This is all BOR.
Yeah, this is BOR.
Okay.
And the Lefflers they homesteaded this.
Okay,
He homesteaded this. Section 6 was homesteaded. Bombs had a homesteaded too. And then there was Atkins and some other people. So there were multiple owners back here, and not to mention those in Lewis and Clark County at the time of the Leffler petition.
Well, why don't, this would be a good time to take a break if you want, we want to all go look at that map.
okay.
So,
Field trip.
It's his mail.
Oh,
I told Mike this morning, are you supposed to go with them? I told Mike this morning that they had to pass a resolution to accept this. If they don't accept this, they have to pass a resolution telling me which one of these they want on the ballot, so.
okay,
And I gave them the law underneath that, so.
but if they accept this, they don't have
They
to?
don't have to do anything.
Okay.
Yep.
All righty.
So if they have any more mail, they can just slip that in with the mail.
Okay, all righty.
10 days to decide from Monday, so I wanted to get it thrown as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, they should be able to accept it today.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, good.
thanks, Amy.
You bet, you bet.
Is this the actual city of Houston? It's not, is it?
I think that is my understanding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I have no idea why those real jobs, especially this one. And I think it's interesting that this is part of good, which is good, because he has asked Vicki, he said, can you live there? They have down there all the wood, he never asked to see much. And I've heard that this is kind of like a grapevine, you know, something that you you know, you know, for the most part,
Could you imagine, I just, that, and so I said, well, Jenny went on break, I'm not sure when she'll be back. But you know, they don't have a boss, you know, making sure, I mean, there are some people who do well, who have, do well, managing themselves, and then there are others who just take it easy. Take it back, and it has to be somebody with a strong personality, because Jenny does have that very strong personality, and then she would have seniority over
creates real problems for the traffic through that. So we have a better contract. Fishing game, water management program, and that is available.
We've been talking with them, I don't.
It seems obvious to me that the best road is that Nine-Hall Road, or the Crystal Road is there, that they're around the north side. They're going across the fence on the north. Yeah.
Well, some days it's faster than paper wagons.
Yeah, right.
Mike, before you adjourn, you'd like this to take care of.
So you might be able to answer a question
Letter
for
from
me.
Doug. And if you accept the letter, then you don't have to do a resolution. If you decide not to accept that, you can do something.
We can do a trade, for 7 years, I've been trying to trade it, get them to buy it, and they won't.
I did explore access on.
You can't get across here.
Talk to Bill, Bill right.
I mean, you can come in by a boat.
Because he's going into BOR down here too.
Yeah,
They have all those cabins along the.
oh, yeah.
Side.
It's all-
Or these
strictly
sides.
where it is.
Yes.
Yeah, very.
It's
Oh,
muted
exactly.
because-
I understand that.
He doesn't have it.
Yes, I do.
Are you looking for access year round?
He doesn't have a
I'd
lot.
like to have access here.
I mean, he doesn't, he
You
doesn't.
can tell Philson
Yeah,
Road.
is this Cox's or is this
You go take a look at
McMaster's?
Philson Road.
Just hypothetically, so you agree.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that. I understand.
You can't get through any of it because it doesn't have access to these.
Well, and I'm not gonna go right on around.
But the thing that gets me is that this is all these are roads that are visible, what happened to this road right here, it's not visible. Sorry, Corey.
Okay. So, all right, so, we looked at the map
Corey,
and,
excuse me.
Yep.
This is a map that I developed for my ranch. That's my ranch property boundary all the way around.
okay,
Section 1 with the mining claim is right there.
okay,
It shows, this is Filson Road, steady my hand,
that's okay.
and this is a T that goes up and around up there.
Is this,
That's this road here. Yeah, from Filson's actually
and, this 13, 24, 23. So this is your, so BLM is around you then?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
Bureau of Rec?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
Well,
he's right in here,
Okay.
right here.
so a great big chunk of this goes through you. So what do you think about this? Do you want to talk to commissioners or address the commissioners?
I've talked to the commissioners before, but my biggest concern is that we've fought this access issue for years with hunters and miners and sidewalk walkers. Anybody that wanted to go out there, they see this Jeep trail, which is the Red Hill Road, goes down to the lake, and they want to drive in there with their motorcycles and their four-wheel drives. Before I got involved with it, my dad just generally said, yeah, go ahead, and we had 2 tracks up to the top of every hill out there. Down every wet area, there were tracks, it was terrible. You let one in, you gotta let them all in, you can't keep them on the roads. They cut up the property, they spread weeds, it's just a mess. So I locked the gates and said, nope, no access. Since then, I've gone with a block management program with the Fish and Game, which gives hunters access. That's basically the only public access there is to our property.
And you're in section 12 and 13, right, Cliff?
Yes.
Yes, and then part of 24, correct? Okay.
Well, pretty much all of 24. There's a little
Yeah.
triangle out of 24,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's a little block out of 11.
Yeah.
Basically,
Mhm.
was that drawing.
Yeah.
So is there any, I mean, is there anybody else that has property inside of your ranch?
No.
Nobody? Okay. And then everything down here on the east, this is all Bureau of Rec butting up against you?
Yeah, there's a piece of BLM in here,
Okay,
but the Bureau Rec comes up and borders us here, so we got BLM border here, Bureau Rec, and then BLM.
okay. And then do you have any grazing leases on BLM around you?
No.
And can you graze on Bureau of Rec? Do they even let you? I don't know.
Alan Davies does.
Okay.
Alan Davies has this BLM permit in
Okay.
here, and so he goes clear to the lake for water
Okay.
and whatnot to Bureau Rec.
Okay. And then we keep this?
Yes,
Okay.
I got several here if you want more. Here's,
Oh, sure. We got a copy.
Do you want a copy? Yeah, you're gonna need one.
Well, and as I was discussing with Mr. Cox, my fight's not with him. I'm willing to, if the county would work with me and Mr. Cox to reroute that road on his place to some extent as to where it makes it most convenient for him and most accommodating to him. You can see that the existing road enters about on the north side for, section 12 there, and then comes through the northwest quarter of 13 there, and then comes on to BLM at that point with that 90-degree turn there.
Okay, so let's finish this so everyone's clear on what happened with the map over there. At the map, we looked at that's a 66 county map. So it looks like that map reflects the abandonment of Red Hill, portion of Red Hill Road in section 18 going to the reservoir. And then it shows an abandonment of portions of Red Hill Road that would be, what section is this, 23?
Well, it wasn't Red Hill, it was not to interfere with Red Hill.
Okay, so it was red,
Yeah, 23.
so portions of 23 and then going south into section 24.
It's an unnamed road. And
No, that's not 24. That's just all 23.
Yeah.
It's all 23.
Yeah, to Filson Road.
So the question I have is so this purple route you're saying is on the what petition? Is on the Loeffler petition?
I believe that because of the Loeffler petition, I believe that
Okay.
covers, I think it covers more than just what is there, but that's what the surveyor found as one of, the most, looking at all the routes on an aerial perspective and saying this is a very predominant defined route. And then with information from me, the section through section 11, well, starting in section 14, you can see a quarry there, kind of a quarry on the line between 11 and 14. There's some disturbance on the ground. Now the BLM would give me a travel variance to travel their existing road, which is not in any color, but it travels through section 22 and 23, turns north in 23, travels through 14, and then connects with the Teal Road there near that gravel pit. Now they'd give me a variance on that road all the way down and then into the red, or what colors? Magenta, the Magenta Road, and that's where we would get our travel variance to the BLM's travel plan. But again, it's so restrictive that it's ridiculous, and it's a sad situation because the general public during hunting season has more access rights than I do.
So here's my question. I don't see where the surveyor indicated that this pink or magenta up north here in sections 11, 12, 1 and 2 is likely the Loeffler Road. He doesn't even, he addressed specifically that there's a
number
Loeffler
5.
position, but he doesn't say anything about,
Are possible routes used by early landowners in the area.
okay.
So
It's a wide sweeping adoption of any, okay, what's he say here?
under number 5, second paragraph, I can read it. Initially, this is a very specific description. However, from that point on, as viewers see most practical for the public use, is a very loose description that could have far-reaching effects and be viewed as a wide sweeping adoption of any particular road to the north. There are multiple roads north of the description, some of the roads being depicted by the purple lines on this map. I've said magenta, I guess it's purple. All are possible routes used by early landowners in the area.
Okay, well, here's the issue with that. If you look at the Leffler petition, and you look at the landowners who've requested it, they're all in sections 24, 23, 14, and 13. There's nobody north of 14 and 13. This section you're referring to is 11, 12, 1 and 2, and 6, so it's way north of 13, 14.
Yeah,
And then if you look at the actual, their adoption of it, if you look at the adoption of it, they basically did the same thing. And they said, we recommend the description as set forth in the petition be the true description of the proposed public highway and the route follow that description. So they didn't really add on to that with the exception of this. We recommend the right-of-way be secured from Carol Filson as he was the only landowner along the proposed route who did not donate. So everybody else donated. I don't know where Filson lives, but
the road allows landowners in the community a road to and from market and makes a road through to open grazing land in the north.
okay.
So at that time of that petition, which was 1918, most of the land north of 13, it was still being settled, it was still being homesteaded. Okay? If you look, sorry, Corey.
Go ahead,
If
sorry.
you look, the petition, sure, it's only these landowners, but those were the only landowners that had private fee simple land at the time. Doesn't mean there weren't other settlements back there. We know from the county records that Leffler's owned land, the Leffler, not H.A. Leffler, the petitioner, but it must have been his son or cousin or relative, they had land in section 1, they had land in section 12, they had land in section 11. If you look at the signers of the petition, Eugene Baum, and they
Somebody,
had
Elias
and
Ross.
Jacob Baum. Well, I know specific to the county records in section 2, right along the county line, Jacob Baum had a homestead there. The county records reflect that. Now these people are signers of this petition for a road through for market, for commerce, as well as to open grazing land to the north of that so they can graze their cattle and livestock. So again, it goes back to this wide sweeping adoption. Now, I would certainly think that the commissioners, they had to have known the Fatigue mining claim was there. They knew that the other mining claim was there. That was Thomas. He had 55 mining claims staked back there. This is the only one of his that went to patent. All of this is reflected in the county records. I don't believe the commissioners at the time wanted or wasn't their intent not to allow these property owners to get out of the area. They did this adoption to allow them commerce. I mean, who needs commerce more than a mining operation that has to smelt their copper ore in the East Helena smelter? It wasn't a gold mine.